What's up, lifelong learners? It's your boy, Mr. Hang, and Sony A9 III. Let's talk about that because I've been waiting for global shutter, and we got some pros and we got some cons. So the first thing I really want to talk about, you already know. Again, I'm gonna say it: global shutter. That thing's gonna open up so many possibilities for photography, especially in filmmaking, for when we don't have to deal with any more rolling shutter. And the only problem with that is you have to really consider this, and Jordan and Chris Nichols pointed it out, is that, yeah, we can potentially have ISO problems that a lot of people are not gonna ask that question about, because I remember thinking about wanting the Bolex. You remember the little Bolex for like filmmaking, right? Specifically for filmmaking. It had global shutter, but the only drawback was you can't really shoot at high ISO because then your image just basically goes to crap. So that's something to consider if you're excited like me about global shutter. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is 120 frames per second. That is a lot of frames per second. Tony Northrup brought this up. The buffer is only 150-ish frames that it can buffer. So that means that, well, when you do burst mode, you're not going to be able to like constantly keep bursting, because it all depends on how fast the buffer can offload those files to your memory card. And then I was actually having this problem shooting with the R8 at 40 frames per second electronic shutter. Now, it's not global shutter, but at the same time, it was taking effort. I was taking photos of a belly dance showcase, and yeah, sometimes I would miss shots of people doing stuff because I had to wait for the buffer to offload. So if Sony's doing 120 frames per second in photography, having only about 150-ish frames buffer, I don't know, it might be a little bit iffy, because you might be missing shots. But I can see it in those, sit and wait type situations, like for birds or whatever to do something, right? Or for, I wouldn't even say for sports. I would say for like one of those pre-burst opportunities where you're just waiting for something, and then you got that 1 second to like take a picture, and it can, pre-shoot, right? I can see that happening, but on a real sports or like real action type stuff, I don't know, with that 120 frames per second and that 150-ish buffer, I don't know if that's gonna be fast enough to keep up, but we'll see in the review. But those are just my major concern. And the second thing is that, man, you're gonna need a lot, like a lot of hard drive space to deal with this. So that's something to consider. I mean, I'm excited about this camera. That's why I'm blabbering about it. The third thing I want to talk about is that crazy shutter speed of 80,000th of a second. Like, that's insane. That is fast. And to be able to shoot like with flash at that shutter speed, I mean, you're going to be darkening out basically full sun, I would say. I mean, damn, that is, whoo, that is a super fast shutter speed. So we'll see how that goes. And there's really no drawback there for the shutter because it's global shutter, it's like all the pixels are being like written right at the same time and not having to worry about any scanning. So that's going to be interesting to see, and I'm actually curious to test that out. So maybe I'll buy it with some Perkins funds or something. But we'll see. We'll see the reviews, what they say, because it'll be a great camera for when I take my students to go do sports, to introduce them to it. But like I said earlier, they could potentially have problems while they are trying to burst and just keep bursting because, they're inexperienced, right? So this will be interesting technology to put in students' hands to see like how well they work with it. And then the other thing is the LCD, best in the game, man. That you can swivel, you can tilt, you can swivel tilt. There's no cons there, All the other companies are gonna have to really step up their game if they're gonna compete against Sony, because Sony just straight up said, yo, we're gonna dominate this field. And we'll see what Canon has to say, and then we'll see what Nikon has to say. But I'm more curious to see what Canon has to say, and I'm more of a Panasonic shooter. I shoot Canon and Panasonic. I tried Sony. I don't like their filing system, the way they do things. But with this technology, I don't know. Yeah, I'm still holding out to buy a camera. I might even buy it for myself. So we'll see how that goes. All right, I'm curious to see what you guys think. What are some drawbacks that you can think of for this crazy technology? And I know we all have a lot of questions. I think mostly for what's up with the ISO and how that's going to work, because we all know global shutter generally means you're going to have a rough time when dealing with high ISO. So leave in the comments down below. It'd be interesting to see what you guys have to say. All right? All right. You know how to say goodbye? Rock, paper, peace. Let's hang out again in the next video. And I'm really digging this DJI Pocket. The Pocket 3 is so awesome.